Greetings, magical maven. Is there any area of your life that feels super stuck and unfulfilling right now? Like no matter what you do to try to fix it, how many oracle cards you pull about it, or how many astrology reports you listen to, you just can't seem to figure it out. Perhaps you've even tried following someone else's formula for successful manifestation in this area of your life, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't worked for you. Sometimes what you need is not for someone or something outside of yourself to provide answers for you, but instead just to tap into a different level of your own inner wisdom. Realizing or remembering that you are your own high priestess puts your power back in your own hands to make the decisions that will be most compatible with your own highest truth. I've experienced and continue to experience these types of challenges where certain things feel stuck in my own journey, and I've discovered a ritual that helps me to return to my own inner truth over and over again, which ultimately helps to simplify things in my life by helping me to tune out all those outside voices so that I can trust my own intuition more and more. I'm sure you've heard of the higher self archetype. I like to talk about it a lot because as a pantheistic witch, it's the main deity, so to say, that I work with. But did you know that you can also work with your ideal future self? This is an idea that I came up with based on the theory that each decision we make puts us on a path. In theory, perhaps there's a parallel reality where you've ignored your intuition constantly and end up manifesting a life that's super unfulfilling. And then on the flip side of that, maybe there's also a version of your future where you follow your intuition closely and manifest fulfillment, the likes of which you can barely imagine. I've put this theory to the test, and I'm gonna have to say it's been really successful. Here's how it works. So, if the archetype of the higher self is our way of personifying the intuitive part of us that sees the much bigger picture of our fulfillment and purpose, then the ideal future self is the version of us that has successfully followed the wisdom of the higher self and has manifested a fulfilling reality. Along my journey, it's been so helpful and rather fun to connect with my ideal future self as I go about living intuitively. It all started years ago when I really began leaning into self-love and self-trust more. I often found myself saying things like, "Thank you, past Vera, for taking a moment to record that beautiful video on your nature walk the other day. It's turned out to be the perfect illustration for the subject that I'm now talking about in this YouTube video that I'm editing today." And in having these little conversations with my past self, it occurred to me that if I could send love and gratitude to past versions of myself, could it also be beneficial to ask for support from my ideal future self as well? As I was making decisions, I began to check in and ask myself, is this choice in alignment with my ideal future? And rather than getting myself super overwhelmed by trying to see too far into the future, this future self that I was checking in with could even just be the version of me from tomorrow, next week, or next month. Now, at the time that I was really starting to pay closer attention to this sort of past self, present self, future self relationship, I was trying to manifest a more harmonious romantic relationship with my partner so that we could build a more fulfilling future together. I wondered what my ideal future self would share with me if she could meet with me and have a chat together. I decided to do a meditation to try connecting with my ideal future self from 1 year into the future. Some of the messages that I received in this meditation affirmed the direction that I was already taking with the self-love and self-care thing, while other messages rather surprised me and gave me a bigger picture perspective of situations that I had been too close to see clearly. For example, my ideal future self was way less attached to the guy that I was dating at the time. And even though I didn't explicitly receive advice from her to break up with him right then and there, it did remind me that there could be someone even better in my future. Spoiler alert, there was. Additionally, I noticed that my ideal future self was somehow both more put together and more relaxed and confident with who she was. She was not scrambling to fit the mold of what a successful woman was supposed to be. She was her own, my own, version of success. Now that it's years later and I'm looking back at how far I've come since I first tried this meditation, I'm now also able to see something that my ideal future self was trying to convey to me that I didn't quite grasp right away with my previous level of consciousness. And that's the fact that the exact details of the vision are way less important than the feelings that signify fulfillment. Back then, what I thought I wanted was for my boyfriend to change so that we could have a deeper and more blissfully aligned connection to build a future on. I was so wrapped up in trying to fix the relationship that I was unable to see any other solution. But when I began to embody that ideal future self who was more self-loving, relaxed, confident, and authentically expressive, guess what happened? My relationship with the boyfriend got worse. It became apparent that he was never going to fully accept the version of me that I was truly meant to become. And ultimately, I chose my mental health over staying with him. And even in the midst of ugly crying on the floor in fetal position over that breakup, there was a deep sense of inner knowing that my whole world had just opened up. I somehow knew that if I could just allow myself to get through those initial painful moments, so many doors would open up to me that had been closed before. And surely enough, this ended up being the beginning of an even deeper dive into self-love, self-care, self-worth, and self-acceptance, which not only felt super liberating for me, but also eventually led me to manifest a whole new group of friends and my soulmate. And the crazy thing is that I met my soulmate literally almost exactly 1 year after I broke up with the other guy. What my ideal self had inspired me to do was to get clear on how I truly desired to feel, and encouraged me to commit to making decisions that are in alignment with those desired feelings. Rather than forcing myself to try to picture the exact vision of what my ideal relationship was supposed to look like, which I never would have been able to accurately do when my ego was so attached to the idea of staying with that boyfriend. Instead, the ideal future self that I saw showed me what the ideal relationship would feel like in my heart. And whether you're a specific or a non-specific manifester in your human design, the key to successful and fulfilling manifestations is the ability to recognize and embody the way you truly desire to feel, with or without being able to see the exact circumstances of the desired outcome. I saw how relaxed, confident, and self-accepting that future version of myself was, and I wanted to feel that way in the present. I got tired of telling myself that I would feel better when the relationship improved, and I instead gave myself permission to feel good in the present moment. And that's what ended up collapsing the timelines, as we say in the manifestation community, and attracting the circumstances that led me to the beautifully blissful relationship that I now have with myself, and the beautifully fulfilling relationship that I now have with my new romantic partner. And again, the crazy part that still blows my mind is that this all happened in exactly 1 year. So, what do you desire your ideal future to feel like 1 year from today? I know one way to find out, and that's to ask your ideal future self. That's why I've taken what I learned and channeled it into a guided meditation and a guided journaling ritual that can be utilized anytime you're feeling stuck or stagnant. I would love to invite you to try my technique that'll help you to connect with and form a spirit guide-like relationship with your own inner high priestess, aka your ideal future self. In this guided ritual, you'll receive access to my beautifully immersive guided meditation that I've recorded for you, where you'll meet and connect with and learn from your own ideal future self. You'll also get a beautiful printable workbook that I designed for you, where you can write down the intuitive messages you receive from your future self, which will help you to embody this ideal version of yourself over the course of the next year. Included also is a video workshop on how to use the plant tend harvest compost cycle of manifestation to reinvent your life in alignment with the ideal feelings that your future self shows you how to embody, and with the 8 seasons of the Witch's calendar, also known as the Wheel of the Year. It includes an additional workbook that'll help you integrate your core desired feelings into your everyday life. So, are you curious what magic the next 365 days might hold for you? If so, I invite you to get instant access right now and to start your year in a day journey today. So I invite you to learn more and get lifetime access at the link included with this episode. And to be totally transparent with you, just the act of retelling my story just now of how powerful this ritual was when I first tried it, it's reminded me there's a different stuck, unfulfilling area of my life right now that my ideal future self could totally be helping me with. So on that note, I'm gonna go take my own advice right now and go do the meditation and journaling prompts as well. If you give this method a try, I invite you to hit reply on any of my newsletters and let me know what comes up for you. Thank you so much for being your magical self, and until next time, blessed be.